I'm Joseph, and welcome to Speakeasy. Today's episode will be the final episode of our Intro to BP series. This one is not focused on improving as a debater. Rather, we're going to give you some guidance on accessing and understanding BP tournaments so that you will have an easier time participating in them. I want to make a disclaimer that this episode assumes that the competition will be in person, not online. The places where these differences matter will be obvious to you, so just remember that all the organizational stuff in this episode applies to in-person comps only. Everything else is more or less the same regardless of whether the competition is hosted in person or online. Now that we have the intro out of the way, let's begin with defining some of the more important terms you should be familiar with and having an understanding of in regards to BP debate competitions. Let's begin with differentiating between the different types of comps that exist. First, we have IVs, which are the most common type of debate competition. IV is short for inter-varsity competitions. To compete at these types of tournaments, you usually need to be enrolled in university. While traditionally both you and your partner had to be from the same debate society, most IVs these days will allow you to go with university students from other institutions. Next, we have opens. Open competitions are also fairly commonplace, but differ from IVs insofar that they neither require you to be enrolled in university, nor for both partners to be from the same institution. Often, there will be many combination teams featuring very strong speakers from different institutions or old debaters who graduated who want to speak together for the fun of it. This is why these competitions frequently represent very high-quality practice opportunities. Finally, we have the majors that happen once per year. Majors are the competitions it's all about. They are the regional championships, like the European University Debating Championships, for example, and the World University Debating Championships, which is global as the name implies. These function like straight IVs, meaning only students from the same institution may attend. Some have additional restrictions, such as WUDC limiting you to participate no more than 4 times across your life. Breaking at one of these as either a judge or a speaker is a very significant accomplishment and is fairly difficult as there are hundreds of people you're competing against. Majors are also usually a week long rather than just a weekend, and span a ton of preliminary rounds, meaning you will likely be hoarse by the end of it, as well as running on fumes. These competitions are hard, but they are also incredible experiences, so if you have the opportunity to go to one, I urge you to participate at least once. Let's now talk about the people who actually make up competitions and allow them to run in the first place. 1. Chief adjudicators, or CAs for short, are often the selling point of any given competition. They are usually very experienced debaters, both as judges and as speakers, and set the motions for the competition. They also allocate judges to the different panels and decide which judges end up breaking. 2. Conveners are the people who make sure the competition can operate. They arrange the menu, the venue, the seating, by which I mean they ensure you have rooms to debate in, food to eat, and a bed to sleep in, or at least a sleeping bag and protection from the elements. Be nice to conveners, because you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. 3. The TAP team is in charge of running tally of team and speaker points, and are also the people in charge of releasing the draw and so on. While the CAs do allocations of judges, the TAP team ensures that the teams are correctly allocated and that you get every position an equal number of times. If you want your name redacted from the TAP, they're the ones to talk to. The TAP master is the head of the TAP team. 4. Runners are volunteers that literally run and collect the ballots or nudge the panels to submit their scores. They also assist conveners with distributing food or help debaters find their rooms. Runners are often kids that aren't very experienced and are mostly there to help, so if you're mean to them, I hope someone hits you with a shoe. 5. Equity officers are people that ensure the emotional and physical well-being of all debaters at a competition. If you have interpersonal quarrels, or if someone is treating you badly, or even if you just need someone to talk to, these people are there for you. They will also help you navigate some issues like language barriers if you're in another country and need to talk to medical staff or the police. Basically, if you have a non-debate related issue that is not covered by the conveners, you should go to equity. Equity officers also deal with clashes, so if there's a judge you cannot be adjudicated by, either because they're from your club or because you feel there's another reason you should not be judged by them, it is equity who deals with implementing this. Lastly, for definitions, let's quickly go over breaking. Competitions usually have a set number of preliminary rounds. As a speaker in these rounds, you accumulate points based on how well you do as a team. The top teams at a competition go on to elimination rounds. The number of teams that advance is capped by the size of the break. For example, in a competition with a break directly to the final, 4 teams break. If there are a gold, a silver, and a bronze final, 12 teams break. If there are knockout rounds, the number adjusts. So for example, a competition with a break to octofinals would mean the top 32 teams at the competition break. Unlike speakers, judges break based on the decisions of the CAs, who consider the judges' experience, feedback from speakers, as well as feedback from other judges they judged with, and make a holistic assessment when considering whether the judge breaks and how deep they break. So, why should you go to competitions? Well, given that you're listening to a podcast about competitive debating, I assume that you're probably somewhat interested in being competitive. If you enjoy debating competitively, having the opportunity to compete against other people is probably something you'd enjoy for its own sake. Speaking against the same people with the same judges can kind of get dull, and having this type of challenge can be really fun. Competitions also represent awesome learning opportunities, both for debate itself and for life. Especially at international competitions, you can meet people and engage with viewpoints you're very unlikely to interact with in your own bubble, and understanding other people's points of view can help you broaden your own horizons. Finally, competitions are a great way to make friends and socialize. At the end of the day, when rounds are done, competitions usually organize social events for you to hang out with other debaters, and these can be great opportunities to make friends. But how do you find competitions? Assuming your debate club is new and lacks the connections to other clubs to be informed of current competitions going on in your circuit, it can be difficult to know when competitions are happening. Facebook can be helpful here. Most competitions announce their events months in advance, so you can plan for them and sign up on time. They will let you know the deadline to sign up, who the CAs are, how many rooms they're planning to have, and so on. There are also regional debating community pages, such as Australian Debating, Europe and Iona Debating, etc. You can also go on the Global Debating Spreadsheet, which is a Google Doc tracking and linking competitions that are happening around the world, so I recommend checking there as well if you're looking for potential comps to go to. Majors generally have their own councils, which must ratify bids to host these competitions, so following the council pages will also usually keep you in the loop regarding majors. There are also very specific rules on who may attend majors, so if your club is entirely new, you may need to go through some bureaucracy to be allowed to compete. Check this sooner rather than later. We will link to some of these groups on our resources page on our website, but there's a good chance we don't know all of these pages. If you notice one is missing, please tweet it at us and we'll make sure to add it as soon as possible. If you ever have any questions about debate, or where to start looking for comps, you can also join the Facebook group Debating Serious Posting. This is a group dedicated to discussing both meta questions around the activity in general and more individual issues, be it finding competitions or elements where you struggle with improvement. It's generally a helpful place to find resources, so I recommend you join if you haven't already. Finally, let's discuss some of the language that will make navigating conversations at comps a bit easier. First, you need to learn a little math. Don't be scared though, it's just simple addition and subtraction. To understand the point system we use at competitions, you just need to know the following. Rankings in debate have scores assigned to them. A first means you get 3 points. A second means you get 2 points. A third means you get 1 point. And a fourth, unfortunately, means no points. Adding the points teams gather across all preliminary rounds creates a ranking based on which the break is determined. As a general rule of thumb, we often consider an average of 2 points per round to be the cutoff point for the break. As a result of straights being considered the baseline for the break, kind of like par in golf, people have taken to refer to that as straight seconds, or straights for short, or a value of 0. In this way of counting, a first means +1, a second means 0, a third means -1, and a fourth means -2. The goal is to have a total score of 0 or better by the end of preliminary rounds. For example, say you have a 4-round competition, and in round 1 you take the 1, in round 2 you take the 1, in round 3 you take a fourth, and in round 4 you take a second. That means +1 for round 1, +1 for round 2, -2 for round 3, and ±0 for round 4. 1 + 1 is 2. 2 - 2 is 0. 0 ± 0 is 0. This would still be straights, even though in most rounds you did not take a second. See? Not that difficult. It just takes a little time getting used to the scoring. The language we use at comps will be things like I am on straights, I am on +2, I am on -1, and so on. It gives an indication of your overall standing in the comp and what it implies for your odds of breaking and whether you're still alive for the break or not. In knockout rounds, rankings don't matter. Judges only decide which 2 teams advance, which means, once again, a second is enough. Because of this, there's a rule that you should generally remember as long as you debate competitively. It's straight seconds to the final. You don't need to win every round. You don't even need to win any round to make it to the final. Just aim for consistently performing well. Competitions are a marathon, not a sprint, so don't let individual rounds that didn't go well drag you down. It's about the aggregate score. Now that we understand how scoring and breaking works, just a quick FYI. There are competitions geared explicitly at novice debaters where all other speakers will also be new. There are also pro-am comps where more experienced speakers go with novice partners. Both represent nice learning opportunities without needing to fear accidentally running into the reigning world champions team. Although, hearing good speeches and speaking against excellent speakers is a great way to improve. So if that does happen to you, try to learn from it rather than being sad about probably losing. In all likelihood, they will have debated for at least 6 years, sometimes more. They're not inherently better than you, just more experienced. So use them for inspiration for where you might one day be. Also, if like me, English is not your native language, many competitions offer special breaks for non-native speakers as well, so check the details of the competition for English as a second language breaks. Additionally, many clubs host special gender minority or LGBT exclusive competitions, so if you identify as a person within those identity communities, it can be a great option if you feel uncomfortable and or unheard in other spaces. Next, we need to talk about speaks. While your scores as a team determine your general ranking in the competition, your individual speeches are also awarded personal scores. As I've mentioned in episode 1, speaks are generally speaking useless because many judges won't apply the correct scale and consider giving speaks an afterthought, making point allocations highly arbitrary and dependent on who is judging you. Some judges will inflate your speaks. Others might be harsher. Some will feel that speaks should reflect the relative position on the tab, even though this is explicitly not what should be happening. In an ideal world, all judges would strictly use the World Speaker Scale, which we will also link on our resource page. But given that judges don't apply the scale in its entirety, you should largely ignore the speaks you get in individual rounds. The only time speaks do matter is if there are more teams on the same ranking than there are teams that can break. In that case, your team's combined speaks are sometimes used as a tiebreaker. You don't find out the speaks until after the comp is over anyways, so don't worry about them too much. And again, if you're worried about other people seeing your scores, just talk to Tab and have them redact your name. But all this doesn't mean that speaks can never serve a purpose. At the end of the day, to some extent, they do reflect how effective your speeches are in the general perception of judges. You can therefore use tabs and the overall speaks you received to track your improvement and see if your scores are getting better. You can use this as a measure of seeing if your practice is bearing fruit or if you may want to adjust things going forward. So, do look at them, but don't put too much emphasis on them in general. The probably most important lesson I have to give you for comps specifically is this. For the duration of the competition, your speaking partner is your best friend. You two must be a unit, supporting each other in lows and celebrating each other's highs. Infighting and blaming each other for a round, while there are still more debates to be had, will just bleed into your prep. So if you have an issue with your partner's debating, you want to either be very constructive about it or talk about it after the competition is done. There's absolutely no sense in demoralizing each other during the comp. It will just be distracting and make you both perform worse. So, be nice to each other and act like a team instead. Finally, and this is the most important lesson of this entire series, have fun. Debate is a game. The rules are arbitrary, the scoring sometimes more so. This is not a professional sport, as none of us are being paid. It is just a hobby. If this hobby isn't fun, you're doing it wrong. While for some industries, success in debate might open some doors, for the most part, being a mentally healthy, resilient, happy person with good grades is generally just going to be more important. So, if debate makes you unhappy and is bleeding into your personal life or causing your grades to decline, you're taking it way too seriously and may want to consider a different hobby. Any game that you're not paid to play should just be that. A game you play for fun. And it's okay to be sad about losing a game, and it can be super fun to win, but in the end, that's all it is. A game. Not a reflection of your worth or intellect. Just a game. Never forget that and never make it more than that. So go play and have fun. Alright, given that this is the last episode of our Intro to Speaking series, there are a few final words I want to say. First, I want to thank some of the people who have helped and supported us along the way while making this podcast. My mom, Jean, Kershi, Matt, and our friends from UP Cebu and UP Visayas who gave us feedback, advice, suggestions, and helped us spread the word about Speakeasy. We also want to thank our listeners for all of your support and for your feedback as well. Moving forward, we're considering to add series on running tournaments and judging, as well as some individual topics that we may want to do deep dives on. For now, however, we will be taking a break from this podcast. We hope you enjoyed this series and learned something, and we will keep uploading motions of comps we track and will keep answering questions on our Twitter @SpeakeasyDebate. You can also continue to find the resources we've put together and all the cheat sheets on our website, speakeasydebating.wordpress.com. That is all from us, and we wish you all the best with your debating.